Welcome back to another episode of the Hardcore Casual with your boy, Base the Kid. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. You know it's appreciated. And it has been, I think, just over a month since we've actually had an episode. I've been doing a lot of the coverage during the live streams, the casual streams. Thank you to everyone who's been joining in for that. But I do think we do have to get back to the original content of the channel, what made things great. There was supposed to be a couple earlier on in the week, but there's a few things that have happened. Now, I'm going to try and condense this video down into a couple of topics that have taken place. Let's see kind of where we get to. But yeah, look, it's good to be back. Thank you guys for being patient. But without further ado, let's get into it. So I guess the first thing I want to speak about very briefly is this situation with the WBA and Boxrec. Boxrec have taken the stance to scrub essentially all WBA data and records from their website. Therefore, now you do not know when someone was a WBA champion. I don't know if that's them saying that they no longer acknowledge the belt, but the problems with that is obviously now, because they haven't just done it sort of moving forward, they've done it retroactively as well. So there's a bunch of fights on there where it's looking like there's no title on the line, and you don't know whether someone was fighting for the legit super title, whether they were fighting for the regular / the baby belt, whether they was fighting for a gold. There's a lot of historical fights where the WBA belt was a legit belt in that fight, and that's now disappeared as well. So it's a bit problematic, especially for Boxrec, who call themselves the premier record keepers in boxing. Well, now the records are circumspect because there's a lot of information there that's just miraculously gone missing. That to me is a bit problematic. I don't know what the issue is. I think it's something to do with the WBA having an affiliation with I think it's Fight Facts as another website sanction, website organization, supposedly having some ties with Saudi Arabia and the Riyadh season and Turki Sheikh. So I don't know exactly how that's going to be resolved, but I guess for now people can only go on Boxrec just to look at the fights that are about to be made, because you can't really trust the historical data on it at this point, which is a bit of a shame, because look, we all like to sort of do our research, and sometimes Boxrec was very good for just reminding you of the amount of titles that someone had won or when they won specific titles. Now it looks like there's going to have to be other methods and modes that you have to go through, and hurdles and hoops to jump through for that stuff. But I guess, like they say, if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. And look, I guess that's what we're going to have to do for this one. It's not great, but that is what it is, such as life. Okay, so yesterday or the day before, is one or the other, Devin Haney was spotted in an altercation with a civilian, I don't know if we called him a fan, but it looked like it was at a theme park, at a fair. And I guess for lack of a better phrase, Devin Haney and his crew that he was with, the people he was with, jumped this person. It looks like Devin threw a punch, a left hand over the shoulder of one of his friends. Whether it connected or not, you can't see from the angle that's on the video. But I guess the telling part of that, and the bit that people make fun of, is the fact that a trained boxer throws a punch at an unsuspecting civilian and they stay on their feet. Although what I will say about that, before I even get into the rest of this, Shakur Stevenson actually done that one time as well. Him and a couple of his friends were fighting, I think it was in Newark, and he was throwing shots at this guy, and I think he missed quite a few of them, and he didn't drop the guy during this little salvo. And I remember someone was saying, yeah, look, just because you box, it don't mean you can fight. And ultimately that's what they was kind of saying there. Similarly, it could be the same thing here with Devin Haney, but again, if he connected and the guy didn't feel it or didn't wobble or anything, well, that's a damning indictment on you and your power, which is something that everyone's always criticized you about, especially since 2020. But if you didn't connect, then that's even worse, because you're a pro boxer. And the fact you're a pro boxer and you're missing punches against someone that's standing right in front of you, not moving, again, is a bit of a poor indictment. So yeah, look, he's gonna have to eat the crow on that one. He's gonna have to take the shame, as my dad used to say. But the parts of that which come a bit more interesting, obviously one of his friends hits the guy, floors him, drops him, and then they seem to be trying to fight there. And at that point, Devin decides to walk away. So I'm assuming, thinking that either cameras might be on, or all right, I'm no longer needed here, let me remove myself from this dangerous situation. And I mean dangerous in terms of like law and whatnot, because you know, you don't want to ultimately be held accountable for the actions of others, although you are the cash cow. So whatever they do while they're in your presence is normally going to affect you. Ryan Garcia chimed in on this. I haven't seen a lot of the exchanges, but I heard some of the excerpts where he's basically saying, oh, so I wonder what would have happened if it was me that, you know, threw a punch at an unsuspecting civilian on the street. You know, they'll throw the book at me, but I guess because Devin ain't got no power, they might just look at it as a love tap, and there would be no further action required. And then they was having a bit of back and forth on that. But then Devin alluded to the fact that he said, oh, well, based on you know, you guys, both of you guys' use of the N-word, you might very much like you two probably be the best of friends. So I guess that's alluding to the fact that from whatever happened in this scenario, this person has, I guess, racially abused Devin and his people, or has used racially insensitive language, or has used racially motivated language against him, which obviously they've not liked, and then they've reacted how they've reacted. Now look, unfortunately, when you are a boxer, when you are a professional athlete, especially when you are you know, a boxer where your hands are legit registered weapons, you're not really allowed to be fighting on road under any circumstances, unless someone has come at you and put your life in jeopardy via, you know, weapons, or they've come into your personal space. You've made it clear that you've tried to de-escalate, but they keep coming at you, come aggressively. That's different. Unfortunately, on this case, he was a fairly safe distance away from this person and he threw the first punch. So in that sense, I can't condone it, and I won't condone it. Whether the guy was being racially insensitive, racially abusive, or whatever, like, you didn't need to put yourself in that situation, nor did you need to put yourself in that situation to now get mocked by the public for not having even the power to stop you know, an unarmed civilian. So look, there's L's all around on that. But you know, if the guy obviously was there talking smack and you know, throwing the N-word around and all that stuff, obviously, yeah, well, he's a piece of garbage as well, and that's not to excuse him. But I know Devin's only, what, 25, 26, but he should know better at this point in time. And I hope that first and foremost, that doesn't affect his you know, it doesn't affect his money, it doesn't affect his bank account. He doesn't have to now do some community service, because he's clear as day in the picture. You know, if this guy presses charges, there's not really much Devin's going to be able to say to get away from it. In terms of Ryan Garcia chiming in, well, obviously I don't really care about him as such. He makes a couple of decent points, and I will give him the credit for making a general point, but he's not making it from a place of good intention. He's making it from a place of trolling and just being another prick. So I'm not giving him any air in that sense either. But yeah, Devin, look, do better. You need to, like, especially if you are going to try and be on this role model flex. I know things happen, but you know, you can't have it both ways. It's either you are or you aren't. So yeah, pick your side. That's what I say. And the last thing I'm gonna I guess talk about in this particular video, and there's a few bits and pieces that have happened. Number one, I guess it looks as if Shakur Stevenson is signing with Eddie Hearn, because he's been talking about a Joe Cordina fight recently. He's been talking to a few guys from the Top Rank stable, and he basically said to them, yo, tell Bob to hit up Eddie. He's saying that in tweets, so I'm going to assume that ultimately means that, yeah, while it's not officially done yet, he's going to end up becoming a matchroom fighter for at least 2 or 3 fights. But the reason I bring that up and why that sort of is interesting to me is because so Charlie Parsons and Turki Alashek did I think it was like a Q&A on the Twitter Spaces the other day, and I haven't heard the entire thing. I've heard bits and pieces, but Eddie Hearn previously had said, look, he just believes that, you know, His Excellency wants to do things a certain way. In Saudi Arabia, they're very much known for they make an agreement, they get things done then and there, and you know, that's just how they are as business people. Whereas, you know, Canelo Alvarez is like, maybe I just want to focus on this fight, we can talk and we can discuss about things afterwards. Well, Turki Alashek said that he has actually been in contact with representatives of Canelo's team for like the last 3 to 4 months, which is interesting because it would, you know, why would he be calling Eddie Hearn asking him to tell Canelo to meet him because they're both in LA if he's already been in contact with his representatives? Interesting. But there's that. But then he also said that Canelo's beef is actually with something that Eddie Hearn has said, as opposed to something that he said. Maybe Eddie has said something or communicated something to him in a way that he didn't like, and so because of that he's taking it as an attack on either Riyadh season or he thinks that Riyadh season are taking an attack on him, something along those lines. But it's very interesting when he says this, because he's basically saying Eddie has miscommunicated something, or something has ended up being lost in translation, and that's why the two of them now have friction. Now there's a possibility that if you are, you know, you from Saudi Arabia speaking Arabic, I'm going to assume is the main language over there. Canelo's main language is Spanish. Neither person are like, they both speak English and speak it well, but neither person are fluent in English, and the tones and the dialects and all the little intricacies and the nuanced words that we have in the language. So there is possibilities that certain words, the translations are not coming across the way that they need to in the right way, in the right manner. But then by that same token, so if you're saying, well, his beef is with Eddie Hearn, kind of trying to throw Eddie under the bus to save that relationship, all right, I respect it, because these things need to be done. But it wasn't Eddie Hearn that wrote the tweet that you put out about him being afraid of taking hard fights, or not willing to take Crawford, or being scared to fight Crawford and fight Benavidez, and that you you know, you don't care if he respects you as a man or not, and you know that he only wants easy fights and he can go his way and do easy only fights, and we're going to continue to do the good fights over here. Like, Eddie Hearn didn't tell you to say all of that. So it's just weird how all of a sudden it went from that to, oh, well, I was misquoted by Eddie, or Eddie is the reason that these issues have now taken place. And so, yeah, if you have an issue, take it up with him, not with myself. That all seems a bit weird to me, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, I don't know the full story. So if anyone's got like the full transcripts or anything, or can break it down to me in a bit more detail in the comment section, please do. But to me, that whole thing seems a little bit suspect, seems a little bit fishy. But I guess the good thing that we can take from that is that he's almost trying to soften his stance on the position that, you know, maybe he can work with Canelo after the Berlanga fight. And if that's the case, I mean, look, we're at this point, but you just gotta take it for where it is, and hopefully that them, you know, we go through the sort of the rough seas, but you get to smoother sailing down the line. Let's wait and see kind of what happens there. But yeah, I can respect having to throw someone under the bus to save yourself or to save your reputation to a degree, but not when you've kind of done as much as you've done, as vocally and as, you know, in public as you have. It's a bit crazy. But I guess like again, because of the lack of, you know, native English on both sides, maybe you could say benefit of the doubt, certain things got lost in translation. We'll wait and see. But with that being said, I'm going to wrap the video here. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Thank you for being patient. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. But for right now, enjoy the rest of your weekend. That's the Hardcore Casual out.